Hello and welcome to the flip side of adversity. I am Dr. Veirdre Jackson, the CEO and creative behind Living Strong Consulting. And I am so excited about this conversation. Anyone who has worked with me at all knows that I am a student of leadership. I study it, I teach it, I develop it, I work on it for myself. And so to have someone who is living in leadership spaces and is passionate about effective and impactful leadership and has a servant leader's heart, I am just beside myself for us to be able to dive into a conversation on how. If you've been wondering, how do I lead more effectively on this side of the pandemic? If you have asked, how can I lead with integrity when things are so demanding and with so many staff who have so many needs? How do I also keep myself well? If those are questions that you've been asking yourself, I can't wait for us to talk about it right here on the flip side. Stay tuned. Trauma, toxic stress, broken habit, and hurting heart don't define destiny, but peace isn't passive. It requires an exchange. To create a flip and access peace in the middle of the pieces, you are challenged to make an exchange of the lies that have kept you mentally hostage in basement moments. Resilience isn't about bouncing back, but bouncing forward. Living Strong, the flip side of adversity, brings powerful stories and fearless conversations from experts in the field of business, relationships, emotional, physical, and mental health, and faith-based communities. Each episode creates a brave space with powerful tools from authentic connections. Tune in as we dig in with Dr. Jackson on the flip side of adversity. Hello, and welcome again. So I know your burning question. Well, who is it? Who is this person that we're going to have this transparent, authentic, and uplifting conversation with around leadership? Well, here she is, Zakiyyah Boone. She is the CEO of WonderSpring Early Education, a nonprofit provider of high quality, safe, conventional, and affordable early childhood education throughout the greater Philadelphia area. She is coming to us with 20 years of experience as an innovative and passionate leader who wholeheartedly believes that education is the best way to eradicate poverty. So you already know, y'all, that everything about her bio is my heart work. So you now understand why I am now saying, welcome to the flip side, Zakiyyah Boone.
Hello. Hello. Wow, that was quite an introduction. I feel like a superstar. Thank you for having me today.
As you should, as you should. When you have those moments of thinking about, so what do I want to have another level conversation about in the month of October? And being able to dive into conversations all month with women like you to talk about, how do we stand up? How do we speak up? How do we live out loud? And how do we stand in understanding our power? And so when you said yes, I was like, yeah, we can have an authentic conversation with a leader of your caliber and of your heart. So, can we just jump into this? Um,
Please, let's do it.
so tell me about how you actually got started in education, and then we'll talk about how that led to a leadership role.
So let me give the truth about how I got started in education. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher ever since I was a little girl. My mom will tell you I used to line my dolls up in my room. I'm an only child. So I used to line my dolls up to play, and I would play by myself. And I had a big old chalkboard with white chalk, and I used to draw on my chalkboard and scold my dolls if they weren't good listeners. And so when I went to college, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to lead that classroom. I wanted to be in charge. I wanted to help kids grow up and be smart. And then I did that for 1 year. And I said, this is a big no, thank you. I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I cannot be inside this classroom for the rest of my days. I have to do something for kids, but not with kids. Okay, because this is not that was not my ministry being a teacher. And so I my career pivoted after 1 year of being a kindergarten teacher, and I worked for the YMCA again in service of children and fierce advocate for the importance of their education, but just differently than I had originally planned. And here I am since 1996. I've been doing the same work saying kids' education matters.
I love everything about that. First, giving kudos to the educators because the work you do is
Yes,
hard, it's
yes,
impactful, but it's hard.
yes,
And we have
yes,
to know when it's not. She says, not my ministry.
yes.
It's not my ministry. I love it. I love it because I also started off as an educator. I I didn't have the childhood vision of
Mm-hmm,
with the
mm-hmm.
dolls, but I decided it was actually a second career move for me because
Okay.
I too felt like I wanted to make an impact that lived beyond me. And when I think
Mm-hmm.
about the awareness that as leaders we have to be willing to really desire whatever we're doing as a leader to live beyond us. And when it can also be tied to education, that's a plus plus. So
Absolutely.
so you made that segue. Kindergarten teaching was not for you.
Pivot.
So how did you make that pivot to walk into a leadership role?
So let me tell you, I am very blessed in the roles that I've had because another leader believed in me. And so I didn't even believe in myself when I took on my first leadership role. My very first leadership role was as the youth and family director at the Ambler YMCA, which was then one of the YMCAs of Philadelphia and vicinity. And I was the program director. I was responsible for making sure that the after school programs ran with quality. I was responsible for summer camp. I was responsible for all these other enrichment programs that the YMCA offered. I had staff, and it was really just the initial training and that another leader, another female leader, Janet Nelson, believed in me, and she told me, this is what you need to do. She held my hand, walked me through it. And my own personality and my own beliefs that I should treat others the way I want to be treated. It's my responsibility to be the leader, not just my right. They just prevailed. And those beliefs that are fundamental to my leadership philosophy have literally carried me through beyond my wildest dreams. Never did I think back in when I was at the Ambler YMCA, that I would be sitting in this chair as the chief executive officer at a large multi-site nonprofit. It just wasn't even on my radar. Again, I'm just a kindergarten teacher. And like, I'm not thinking that, I'm thinking that those 25 kids is as far as I think my impact would stretch. And so I think the first piece of the first step of my leadership journey was actually someone else believing and trusting in me more than I even seeing potential in me that I didn't even see in myself.
That's literally the first part of what you said that pricked my heart. I think so often having someone who will see it but then speak to it, not
Yes.
be intimidated by it, not try to stifle it. That's actually a sign of a true leader, being able to see it in others and cultivate it. But can we
Yes.
park on one thing? I was having a conversation with another leader last week, actually, because there's an art in what you just said. So often we are good at one thing, and people then want to shift us and put us into another position of leadership because we were good at programming. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, because you're good at this, because you are good at teaching, you should then become the leader of this, but not recognizing we actually need someone to coach you through how to lead. Programming
Mm-hmm.
is one thing, but actually coaching someone through how to deal and work with and guide and lead people is a whole nother skill set. Would you say that that was?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the thing that I was good at that I didn't recognize in myself was motivating and inspiring and encouraging others, starting with the 5-year-olds in my kindergarten class, right? Those kids in that kindergarten would come in tears. I can't tie my shoe. I can't get my arm out of my coat. I can't open my lunch. All those things, right, that kindergartners struggle with, that they learn in good quality early education. They learn how to tie that shoe. But that's a side note. All those things that kindergartners struggle with, I'm there. You got this. You can do it. Let me help you. Let me talk you through it. Let me support you. Let's partner you up with another friend so you can practice, right? I was good at that. I was good at that. And those skills were very transferable into managing adults. I can't manage this Excel spreadsheet. I can't, right? Like, just helping others believe in themselves, encouraging them, motivating them. That's a natural God-given talent for me, is radiating positive energy and a can-do growth mindset is really again, core to my leadership philosophy. And so just learning how to develop that, learning how to leverage that strength in order to drive results, that was where I had so much training, so much professional development. I don't take any of that for granted. Throughout my career, I started my career as an executive leader in 2013. I had a dynamic executive coach. Her name's Angie. I still to this day call her Coach Angie. But she even said to me, girl, you better get out there and use those skills, because she helped me to understand how to use the skills that I have in order to expand more impact. And so a big part of the responsibility we have as leaders, and notice I keep going back to that word responsibility, right? Because being the leader is not just all about telling people what to do. It's not about it's my way or the highway. It's not I get the big chair, because as you can see, my chair is not even all that big. That's not it. It's really about the responsibility of securing the success of other people, those that you lead. I'm responsible for their success because I'm their leader. And
Mm.
so when I fully understood how to own that responsibility and how to really just, again, leverage my strengths in order to drive results. I don't have to do everything, but I have to support others in getting more done. It's how I expand impact.
Yeah.
Every step along the way, I mean, there's been so many who have helped me to see that. I have a sister circle of multiple sister circles of friends. Um, one that I met at the YMCA, another that I met at Millersville when I was in college, another that I met just in the community, right? Just multiple circles where they pour into me, I pour into them. Then I've had individual mentors and leaders who've again helped to sharpen that skill that leaders get results by helping others to succeed. One of my mentors, Bertram Lawson, went to high school with him. He gave me a job, and I'm like, what am I even supposed to do? I don't even know what I'm doing. He was like, yes, you do. Yes, you know exactly what you're doing, and you're going to do more. And I'm going to make sure that you are the best at what you do. Like, just behind me 1,000%. John Flynn, who was a former CEO at the YMCA. I met the man 2 days after I met him. He says to me, you know, you can have my job tomorrow if you only believed in yourself.
Wow.
And then he walked me through
Yeah.
how to become a CEO. He
Yes.
gave me skills. He made me shadow him. So like when I tell you it is our responsibility as leaders to pay that forward.
You know,
We've got to help others to expand our impact.
so you are pulling this quote from my soul because I literally was reading it this morning, and I wrote it down because I said, I wonder if she's going to speak to, and you literally just did it. So John Ramstead says, how do you live your life so that the use of your life outlives your life?
Yes.
Everything you just explained, for leaders to recognize something that's often called soft skills, you're displaying them as vital skills to effective leadership in order
Yes.
for the life you are living to
Yes.
outlive you. Every seed that
Yes.
was planted in you is now coming forth in everything that you are. So, if you were to describe your leadership style, how would you describe it?
Um, I would definitely say that I'm a servant leader because I believe that leaders are born to serve, right? So that's innate. But I would say my style put recognizes that I'm leading people, not robots, right? Not AI. I'm leading people, and people are different. They have different needs, they have different emotions. People change. I may not necessarily get along with all the people, but I'm still leading them, right? I'm leading people. And so I lead with my heart and my head have to be aligned, right? I can't just lead with my head because it might be my head might tell me this is the answer, but my heart, I can't sleep at night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my conscience is telling me that was not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So my head and my heart have to be aligned so that I can make sound decisions. But I can also look at in the mirror and say, you know what? I did the right thing because it was right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I made the right decision because it was right. And it may be a decision that is not popular. It may be a situation that is difficult, i.e., COVID,
Yes.
because I took this role on as CEO at WonderSpring literally in April of 2020.
Ooh.
Okay. That was a very, very scary time. And so all the decisions that I had to make weren't necessarily popular. Like, hey, everyone, we're going to reopen our early learning centers, even though the CDC is changing the guidance
Mm-hmm.
on what we're supposed to do almost day by day. We're going to reopen our early learning centers. I don't know that that was the most popular decision for our teachers because they're like, what? These kids are going to get us sick. What's going to happen? How are we going to have enough masks? But it was the right decision. It was
Yeah.
because here's where head and heart have to align. Head is saying, hey, we better get our business back off the ground. We better begin generating some revenue so that we can continue to keep everyone on payroll as we did throughout COVID. But my heart is saying there's families out there who really do have to get back to work and they need somewhere. And guess what? There are kids who are suffering significant learning loss because the lack of socialization, the lack of engagement. They're just sitting at home, possibly in front of a tablet all day, every day. So we're responsible for serving those children.
Yeah.
Head and heart have to align.
Yeah.
Think it through, right? And then talk it through is the other part of my leadership strategy. I don't make at Wonderspring, I do not make decisions in a vacuum. I do not sit in my office with the door closed and then walk out and say, here I said, thus saith Zakiyyah, so let it be so. That is not how I operate. We're going to sit down as a team. We're going to discuss that. We're going to all put our heads in. My opinion matters, but not any more than anyone else's. So we make those decisions and then we go forth and serve.
You know what? I want to, because I see the people, some of the people who are in our chat, because you lead a large multi-site nonprofit, I'm wondering if you could give advice to those smaller organizations, those smaller nonprofit or even for-profit early childhood programs or businesses. As a leader, what is a nugget or a treasure you would give them as they are feeling the weight of navigating, rebuilding in some cases their business, trying to find a way to expand? What are some key things that you are doing now that you know, regardless of the size of your organization, as a leader,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be doing these things post-pandemic?
The number one thing I would say leaders need to make sure that they do, no matter what industry, no matter how big or small, partnership, collaboration. Do not go at it alone. Do not go at it alone. Combine resources, collaboration, and collective impact. They really do make a big difference. And so when you think about even like in the for-profit industry, if you think about, for example, you can now make your Amazon returns at Whole Foods, Staples, UPS, Kohl's, right? Collaborate. Amazon, the big corporation that it is, they still partner. They still need. They said, you know what? We can have more impact, make more money, I'm sure, but we can have more impact if we don't go at it alone. And so at Wonderspring, that is actually one of our 4 strategic priorities, is to increase our community engagement through partnerships, because we recognize that the only way we're going to survive is to link up.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to
Mm-hmm.
link up with someone else so that we can continue to have collective impact on the organizations and communities that we serve.
Yeah. Being able to recognize that you're not in this alone, and there's an opportunity for you to be even more impactful by
Mm-hmm.
finding and collaborating with others. So, what would you say was your biggest obstacle as you faced working towards your leadership position, or as you find yourself being a leader currently of a large nonprofit? What's a huge obstacle that you have either had to overcome or you recognize you are still working through?
I have a couple. The number one biggest obstacle that I continue to work hard to overcome is, don't tell anybody.
And she's on an
Imposter
international.
syndrome.
Oh.
Okay. Imposter syndrome is still very real.
So
And let
wait a
me tell
minute.
you why.
Wait a minute. Because what I've actually discovered is there are several people who do not know what that means. Can you define it before you explain why it's real?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, imposter syndrome, the feeling, and recognize that it is just a feeling, it is not a fact. Imposter syndrome, the feeling that one is playing a role that one is not qualified for.
Yeah.
One is literally showing up as an imposter and not as what they are presenting as. And so I show up as this confident, fun, energetic, bright ball of positivity. But that's because before I got out the car, I just listened to Beyonce telling me a winner don't quit on themselves. That's the
I
reason why
love
I
it.
can show up that way, right? And so I have to manage that obstacle. I can't let it stop me. I figure out a way around it. For me, it's music. It's also, again, my circles, my sister circles, because I know if I'm feeling like, I'm just this past weekend, I shared, I sometimes feel like giving up. I sometimes feel like I can't make it. And they poured into me the whole entire weekend. Girl, you will not give up. Let me tell you, let me run your receipts for you because I have receipts on what you have accomplished and there is more that is ahead of you, right? So I have those resources available to me to help me overcome those obstacles. The other obstacle, time, because I want to do everything. I want to solve every problem. I want poverty eradicated by tomorrow morning. Do you understand me? I want it out of here. I can't get it done in that amount of time.
Yeah.
So I have to recognize my own limitations as a human being. Surprise, surprise, right? As human beings, we can only do but so much, and we cannot set unrealistic expectations of ourselves, right? But together, again, collaboration. I can expand my impact if I work with Dr. Jackson because she and I together can get more done in eradicating poverty than I can by myself. And so recognizing that time is a very realistic barrier and limitation, but that there are ways to manage it and make the most efficient use of the time that God gives me. That really makes a big difference.
But you know what? Can I lean in? I agree. And I have literally given that advice to clients, to those who have logged in or follow me on social media. And the reply will be, but how do I trust the right person?
Mm,
how do I know I might step out and trust the wrong partner?
mm.
Advice do you give to that leader who's struggling to collaborate because they're struggling with that trust word?
So trust is very, very difficult. But the advice I give that leader is the only way to build trust is to trust. You'll never build trust from a place of distrust.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't open the door, no one can ever come in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it really, I have to take a leap of faith and a calculated risk, right? There are some dead giveaways that tell me don't trust that situation. For example, we just had Hurricane Milton in Florida. I'm not going to trust that if I just sit in my little teepee, that little teepee could withstand a hurricane,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a very calculated risk. So you have to make really calculated decisions about who to trust. Do we have similar goals? Is this a person that I feel I could get along with? If this person doesn't give me what I'm looking for, how disappointed, hurt, broken would I be? What's the most damage this person could do that I'm going to allow this person to do to me if I trust them and they betray my trust, right? Those are ways that you make actually calculated decisions about who to trust. And then also, this works for me. I don't know if it will work for everyone. I also go with my gut again because my head and my heart have to align
Yeah.
on who I can trust and who I don't trust. Right. And so I run it through the filters. Okay, this person seems pretty intelligent. This person has the same goals as I have. This person is also a Philadelphia Eagles fan. This person, so they get the trust factor. All that's going. But right, but then my head and heart both align on that. Then I feel safe to go. Have I always been right? No, I haven't. I've trusted some people who were not worthy of my trust and betrayed my trust. Learn that lesson, recover, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Look for the red flags, don't ignore them, don't do it again. And so it's not always safe to trust, but it's the only way to actually build trust.
Can I lean in on something you just said? Because
Of course.
when you said trust your gut, I love how you aligned it with trust your gut and the positive things that you see, lean in. I think also I challenge leaders, trust your gut when something is questionable. When you are sensing a red flag, don't ignore it because you believe that the benefit tied to the relationship, you want to
Mm-hmm.
compromise or ignore your trust, your gut, because you're focused on what you think will benefit you or the person's reputation, or trust your gut, even whether it's for the positive or the negative. And the moment they show you who they really are, sever it at that time. Don't
Yes.
keep giving them opportunity after opportunity to continue
Yes.
to show themselves as a betrayer,
Yes.
as someone who
Yes.
lacks character.
Yes.
Address it.
Yes. No, but that fear, because it's the fear of conflict, sometimes like for that fear will cause people to stay in relationships, whether they be professional, personal, private. They'll stay in relationships that are unhealthy.
Yeah.
And when at the point, if you are uncomfortable, if a person is uncomfortable addressing the issue, then just leave the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I feel it's very important. Healthy relationships are usually built on trust, mutual respect, open communication, right? On different levels, because you're going to have different levels with your spouse or partner than you are with your colleague, than you are with, the person the person that bags your groceries down at Wegmans. You're going to have different relationships with all those folks, but you have to be able to have that open communication about, hey, this really isn't, this wasn't okay with me. What did you mean by that? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I want to talk through that. I'd like to unpack what you said there. What I heard you say was, is that what you meant to communicate to me? Right? Because I value this relationship, I'm going to talk about that. However, that's not always easy to do, I promise you. And so some folks are just conflict averse, they walk away. And that's better than staying in a relationship that's actually destroying the trust.
Yes. There's so much there, but I want to honor Stephanie's question. She just posted it in the chat. She said, as a woman and leader, we often give so much. And I think it's aligned also with what you're just, because I think that's also tied to not actually
Mm-hmm.
speaking up and being clear on your boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
expectations. So she says, as a
Mm-hmm.
woman and leader, we often give so much. What are some strategies and tactics you leverage to refill your cup? What brings you joy?
Let me start by saying having an accountability partners, having someone who can pull your coattail, who's outside of the situation, who can say, you know what, Zakiyyah, you're giving too much and you're
Mm.
letting them get away with more than they should.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't see it from my vantage point, right? But an outsider can say, you might want to think about trying a different angle, right? So having that accountability partner, I promise you, There is no sister circles like mine, I promise you, because they hold me down, every last one of them, in all walks of my life. I'm sorry, that was a side note. But they will pull my coattail. They will ask me the hard questions that'll make me think about the decisions that I am making. They will say, you know what, Zakiyyah, what happened the last time you walked down this road? Was it a good outcome or a bad outcome? Right. And so having accountability partners, that's number one. The second thing that I would say that we as women have to do is, and this might sound super simplistic, but start writing things down to hold ourselves accountable for those secrets that we don't even want anyone else to know. We don't even want anyone else to know. So I'll give you a super big secret. Again, don't tell anybody. I have a personal goal of decluttering my bedroom because heaven help me on how many pairs of shoes I have, right? So I have a personal goal of decluttering my bedroom. I did not tell my sister circle that was my goal, because then they'll be FaceTiming me trying to see, girl, how many pairs of shoes do you have? Have you accomplished that goal? But that goal is written down on my refrigerator in my house, along with a picture of my bedroom before I allowed the shoe clutter to overtake it. And so I see that every time I hit that fridge, I see, I got to work on that. I see that's my goal. I'm going to get it done this month, because I'm holding myself accountable, because that's my secret and I didn't want to share. But accountability really, really matters. And so surrounding yourself with the right people who want what's best for you, right? They are actually really altruistic about their support of you and your goals, not what they want for you, because sometimes we also can want more for others than they want for themselves. Especially we as women can definitely want to set higher goals for others than they are willing to set for themselves. And so it really makes a difference when you have someone pulling your coattail, calling it out because you can't see it, identifying your blind spots, like Coach Angie did for me during my time working directly with her as a coach. Like, all that helps you to be better and avoid that pitfall of pouring from an empty cup.
Yes. Now, I have to challenge you because I feel like my sister circle is the best in town, but I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it. So, and Angela, I so appreciate this question because I struggle with the same. She asked, my struggle is finding a committed mentor. Do you recommend that, or will a circle work better?
I have to say that's a tough question, because for me, it's 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other, right? And so the things I talk about with my sister circle, I may go deeper or more shallow in a one-on-one conversation with a mentor. So I think it's, for me, I wouldn't recommend either or. I would recommend both. I would recommend both, but it's going to take work and time and effort to really, really find the right people. It has to be the right person, because the energy has to match. The beliefs have to match. The values have to match, right? You've got to find the right person. But once you find that right group of people or that right mentor, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. And so I always tell folks, I'm constantly learning as long as I live. And so I never feel like I'll be at a point where I don't need a mentor. I don't need to pick up the phone and call someone and say, listen, can you talk me through this? Or, so investing the time and energy into finding the right people pays dividends, because then you'll have that person for as long as you choose to.
Yeah. And if I can lean in on that as well, I think about, as a mentor, again, I agree that it really is kind of your personal journey and where you are in your career, in your leadership path. It is a personal decision, but I also think about a mentor as someone who is farther along in their career, and they're a step ahead of you, or a several steps ahead of you, not too far, but steps ahead of you, so that you're going to them for support and understanding, how do I take my next step, versus a circle of accountability that will circle up, hold me down, keep me grounded, guide me right where I am, hold me accountable to staying the course, which is a different role. And so thinking about what is it that you want from that mentor relationship versus what do you want from the sister circle? Because both of them could absolutely play a vital role in your journey.
Of course. I would say, I would add to what you just said in the to use a line from our good sister Mickey Howard, experience is a good teacher. And so having someone who's walked a mile in my shoes, who's been where I am, and I can learn from their experience, I don't have to make the same mistakes. I don't have to fall into the same pits, right? I can learn from their experience, and I can improve my success by taking advantage of that relationship. So absolutely, I would so my mentor, again, John Flynn, let's use him for example. He had been a CEO in the YMCA for circa 25 years by the time I met this man. He taught me about board development, financial development, staff development. He taught me about how to actually share my workload without taking my hands off of it, delegating appropriately. Like all of those things he taught me. And so whether it's professionally or personally, I'll give you another example. One of my very good friends has raised multiple foster children. She is literally a professional parent at this point. She's raised 12 children. She's a professional. She's an 100%. Old pro. So I listened to her. Like, Tasha, what should I do? Because this is what's going on, right? So like whether it's personally, professionally, no matter what it is, learning from the wisdom and experiences of others is valuable to me. I just take heed to that. Now it's difficult because sometimes people let ego get in the way, right? And you don't want to disclose your secrets. I don't want anybody to know how cluttered my shoes are in my bedroom. But maybe if I were to put that out there, somebody could say, you know what, let me share this Amazon shoe system that I found, girl, that can help you to organize those shoes and accomplish your goal. So like, sometimes you let ego get in the way and it can slow you down from accomplishing your goals.
Yes. Oh, well, Pamela, I'm going to get to your question in just a moment, but I actually want to have you unpack something you just said, because again, I think we take for granted. Just had this conversation with a group of leaders the other day. When you talk about delegating, I think leaders sometimes misunderstand this concept of delegating, like this thought of, okay, they said I'm supposed to delegate. I'm not supposed to carry all this stuff by myself. Here, I'm going to give this to you. So now I delegate it, and then I get frustrated when it doesn't turn out the right way or the way that it needs to, the outcomes that we want. So I want to hear, because I feel like you're going to lead right into the conversation we were having. How does a leader delegate so that they are not carrying everything and depleting their souls?
So a phrase that I use frequently in my leadership journey has been, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle.
I said the same thing.
Right?
I knew we were like-minded.
And so me delegating to you is me lighting your fire and letting your light shine. It is not me passing the buck. It is not me dumping. It is not me giving It's me lighting your fire so that you shine brightly too. It's my responsibility to see you win and to help you get there. And so delegating really is giving someone else an opportunity to be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your responsibility as the leader is to make sure that what you're delegating matches their skill set, lines up maybe with their passions, is appropriate, right? They have the capacity for it. Your responsibility is to make that decision as the leader. However, once you've done that, light that fire and let that light shine. That then you created a whole nother leader, which is really ultimately what we're responsible for as leaders. Create more,
Yeah.
pay it forward, leave that legacy.
Ah, yes, yes, and yes. It's not just dumping. It's making sure that it aligns with their skill set. And I think about that image of the candle because I'm adding to, I'm supporting, I'm providing the spark, the skills, the guidance, the support that you might need to continue to move. And I don't take it away from you if you make a mistake. I coach you through the moment so that I don't, see, you didn't do it right. So now I got to take it back. The same way I had to learn, someone else has to learn.
Yes, absolutely. What good would it be for me to light your candle and let the candle tip over and burn the whole house down? Now, that's not very responsible as a leader now, is it? No, right? So of course, you have to you don't leave someone out there. But you want to support them to success.
Yeah.
Right? You're not being their success. You're not giving them the success. You're allowing them the honor of accomplishing success on their own, because then they can take pride in that. But you're supporting them to success based upon their skills, their passions, their training, their background, right? Their capacity. Do they physically have the bandwidth to manage whatever it is that you're asking them to do?
Oh, this is so good, so good, so good. I want to literally, as we have 8 minutes left, I want to lean into a conversation around if you were talking to a room of leaders who recognize that this is a season in time where indifference isn't an option, right? If we're actually going to address the challenges of education, address the challenges of poverty, if we're going to truly make a difference, how do you learn to have the confidence to speak up and stand strong in rooms in which everyone may not look like you, or everyone doesn't have the same perspective or experience as you? How do you learn to stand strong in those spaces?
I will say the number one thing I would say to those leaders is to think about what happens if I don't speak up? What doesn't get done? These children are counting. And I firmly believe this and share this with all the staff at WonderSpring. These children are counting on us. Who are we? What gives me the right not to speak up, not to advocate for their best interests, not to make sure that they have a quality experience, not to get them school ready? What gives me the right to not do that? Because I'm letting them down. And if you really have a firm understanding of your why and the people who benefit from your speaking up or from your advocacy or from your whatever action steps you're taking or whatever room you happen to be standing in, if you truly have an understanding of who benefits, how could I have the audacity to be quiet? How could I have the audacity to sit back and just let good enough be good enough? I can't do it. There are literally at Wonder Spring hundreds of children counting on the decisions that we are making. They are counting on us. Their parents are bringing them here every day to make sure that they are safe, that they are cared for, they're getting a quality education, that they belong, that they are having fun, but they're counting on us. I can't do it. How dare I not speak up when this is what's on the line?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You sound so I saw Chris, I see the hearts, right? You all of it. All of it. When I think of the and I brought a full circle moment. I saw Chris Slick was in the comments earlier. That level of how dare we ask children and families and communities to change, to pivot, to learn new skills, to continue to grow, and we not do the same. It lacks integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And when we recognize that, for me, that's like a core value word for my leadership is integrity. In that,
Absolutely.
how dare we ask others to change, to grow, to continue to evolve and adapt, and we are not continuing to hold the mirror up and understand what
Mm-hmm.
we need to do in order to show up and to show out and to live out loud the authentic leadership that is tied to our legacy and our impact.
Absolutely.
Oh, I told you we were not going to have enough time. I knew this 55 minutes was going to fly by. I told you. So I am sad to say we are at 55 minutes, y'all. I hope you
The
have all.
time has
I
flown by.
I told you it would. I
You did
told
say that.
you. I hope you have shared this conversation with somebody. I hope you have invited somebody to this conversation. There's a leader who is drowning, and I know there is a nugget embedded throughout this conversation for them. So, listeners, I encourage you to subscribe so that you can stay connected to this conversation and invite somebody into it, share it. But before we jump off, I want to hear what is on the horizon for you. What are you excited about? What are you currently working on?
Yes. So I'm super excited that at Wonder Spring, we are celebrating 60 years of service to the community. We have been around since 1964. We will celebrate our 60th graduating class this year in June. And in just a few short weeks on October 30th, we will cut the ribbon on our 11th location that is housed at Smith Memorial Playground in Philadelphia at Fairmount Park. So October 30th at 3:30 is going to be a party in the park because Wonder Spring is expanding. And so in those 60 years, we have had the privilege and honor of serving thousands of children across the greater Philadelphia community. And we will be celebrating and sharing those stories of success over the next couple weeks as we lead up to that ribbon cutting. So much going on. I'm honored. I'm so honored to lead this organization. I have an absolute dynamite team. Could not ask for better. And so I'm very grateful that we're getting this opportunity to expand.
Well, there you have it. And you've listened to our FLIPSIDE conversation, and now you understand why I asked her to be a part of our month-long conversation. And I just want to make sure you are aware that we're going to be having these types of conversations all month. I have invited so many of my colleagues and friends and those who I've recently just met and those who I've been friends with for a while in continuing our theme on how do we stand up, stand out, live out loud, and fearlessly win together. And so next week, you do not want to miss Inga Nicole. She is an entrepreneur and finance queen who has a formula for fearlessly winning. She's going to come on to answer our questions, to understand how do you fund your dream? How do you get over all of the F's that get in your way? She's going to unpack. And then after that, we have State Representative Gina Hackett Curry coming on to literally help us understand how do we stand in spaces and understand the power of our voice. And then at the end of the month, we have Dr. Nicole. She's going to have us unpack the power of the pause. I know you are grinding. I know you are hustling. I know you are moving. But there is a power in the pause, and we cannot live out all that we are to live without honoring the pause. So I hope that you do not miss a single one of the conversations before we finish this one. Zakiyyah, and it is all throughout the chats, the thank yous, the I'm proud of yous, the blue hearts, the red hearts, all of it is just flowing through the comments. My sister, thank you for being so honest and transparent.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
For sure.
Just remind them, if they want to follow you on social media, what are those social media handles?
Absolutely. So you can follow me on social media, Facebook, Zakiyyah Renee, or Wonderspring ECE. On Instagram at ZR Boone, also Instagram at Wonderspring ECE. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Zakiyyah Boone. Pleasure joining you today, Dr. Jackson.
The pleasure was all ours. So, same time, same place, right here on the flip side. We'll see you next week. Trauma, toxic stress, broken habit, and hurting heart don't define destiny, but peace isn't passive. It requires an exchange. To create a flip and access peace in the middle of the pieces,